and the dog is right behind him.
Very good.
Oh, fantastic.
The way you tell them.
It's all about timing, isn't it?
It really is.
All
Good
about.
morning, good afternoon, and good day. Welcome to another edition of the Digital Download, which is the longest running weekly business talk show on LinkedIn Live.
We need to do that so that we each have a couple of words each. Starts with
because that would go so
You can get it to go along the bottom, Rob.
Yeah, we could do that too, I suppose. Yep. So that fits right into today's topic. Today we're talking about unlocking the full potential of your business message. You might sense a theme developing across our last few episodes. I assure you, it was not planned. I should be so smart. Quite serendipitously, 3 weeks ago, we had Drew Donaldson on the show, and he shared with us how to distribute content for the best organic and paid results. Building on that, last week, Greg Wasserman shared with us the power of full spectrum podcasting. Say that 5 times fast. The power of full spectrum podcasting. It's more than just hitting record and publish. And today we have a special guest, Donna Kunde, to help us unlock the full potential of your business message through internet radio. We'll talk with Donna about the power and reach of internet radio, and we'll explore globalizing your evergreen content. But before we bring Donna on, let's go around and introduce everyone. And while we're doing that, why don't you in the audience reach out to a friend, ping them, and have them join us? We strive to make the digital download an interactive experience. Audience participation is highly encouraged. Right. So, introductions. Adam, would you kick us off, please?
I'm Adam Gray, co-founder of DLA Ignite, and I'm simultaneously have a divine smiling face and I'm wearing an England rugby shirt, looking at the comments we've already received on today's show.
So are you wearing an England rugby shirt?
I'm not actually. I'm wearing a white polo neck and a black jumper. I should have done, really, shouldn't I, to support the boys?
Yeah.
Speaking of comments, Andrew Slesser says, good morning, good afternoon, and waves. Let's wave so he can wave to the monitor. Excellent. Thank you, Adam. Alex.
Good morning, good afternoon, all. My name's Alex Abbott, founder of Sapiro. I'm not wearing an England rugby shirt, although I am wearing a rather fashionable salmon-coloured, slightly pink sports shirt.
So do you call it Adidas or do you call it Adidas? Or
I call it Adidas.
Right.
But I think the Americans call it Adidas. No,
but one thing we can be certain,
Adidas.
Alex, is that neither in the US or in the UK would we refer to it as fashionable. So you're fine.
Very good. Very good.
Ouch. Excellent.
Yeah.
Thank you,
Alex.
Alex.
I'm Tim Hughes. I'm the CEO and co-founder of DLA Ignite. And I'm also famous for writing the book, Social Selling Techniques to Influence Buyers and Changemakers.
Thank you for that,
I'm
Tim.
going to add a third piece onto the end of that. Is I'm a podcaster.
Yeah.
You're a podcaster.
Yes.
Yes, you are. Excellent.
Now everyone's
Thank you.
picking on me, Adam. Well done.
And myself.
LinkedIn user, who are you? Unfortunately, it comes up as LinkedIn user. When it does that, it means you haven't set your settings in LinkedIn to say that you're willing to share your data. Just so you know that. But it'd be great if you could just say who you are. So we didn't.
I just checked. It's Paul Spencer.
Paul Spencer.
Oh, how do you check?
I looked at the live stream. I've got it open in another tab so I could see what was going on.
There we go. And
Sorry,
myself, I'm Rob Durant, founder of Flywheel Results. I'm not famous for writing any book yet.
Woohoo.
All right. As I said, this week on the Digital Download, we're going to speak with the co-founder of the IBGR network, Donna Kunde. So let's bring her on. Donna, good morning and welcome.
Hey, good morning,
Morning,
good
Donna. How
afternoon,
you
good
doing?
evening, wherever you are in the world. Thank you for having me here.
Donna, thank you for being here. Please tell us a little bit more about yourself and how you got here.
Oh, well, it's been an interesting journey, to say the least. I started out as a military musician and went into retirement, not knowing what I was going to do after that, and stumbled across a coaching course, actually. Became a business coach for a while. In that process, met up with a guy who was the general manager at a local radio station. We did some shows together. Come to find out, he was a consultant doing a turnaround. And when they decided to sell the station, Bill and I, William Eastman, my business partner, we looked at each other, shrugged our shoulders and said, hey, let's start internet radio. Because he had already done the research. He wanted to take that terrestrial radio station and put it out globally anyway. He'd done the research, and we said, yeah, sure, let's do it. So in January of 2020, we launched the International Business Growth Radio Network, IBGR. In March, something big happened in 2020. If y'all remember, there was this thing called
just after pink shirts went out of fashion.
Right. So the world just kind of shut down. It was supposed to be for 2 weeks. It ended up being a little longer than that. And in April of 2020, we actually had the station up and running with one host, one listener, one country. It was Bill on the air, it was me listening, and it was the US, obviously. And then, so I reached around the world to some of my colleagues and said, hey, you're not doing anything. You want to get on the radio? They said, yeah. And in a very short time, we were able to reach 183 countries. Get them listening in. Yeah, I've put about 70 hosts from around the world on the air. I've got 14,000 podcasts I help produce, and we have, I've got over 675,000 downloads collectively. So it's been this amazing thing. And I woke up one day and said, oh, look, there's patterns. And that's what I do now is I'm really focused on amplifying messages to help business owners tell their story through radio.
Before we get into that, Donna, because I've got a ton of questions for you.
Oh, good.
I've never heard the term military musician. I'm assuming you played an instrument in the military.
I did. I played the piccolo, and this Pivot magazine just came out, and I was very honored to be a part of it. But I bring this up because I just happen to have a picture, if you can see.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was me in a former life in Seoul, Korea. Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yep.
So,
lots of stars and stripes forever. If you've ever heard that march, I won't sing.
Donna, I know you and I had talked, and you helped me understand it a little better. But for the audience at large, what exactly is internet radio?
It's a great question that we hear all the time. So a little education piece here is there's basically three types of radio. There's terrestrial radio, which is the old AM, FM that you get on the dial and you listen in. And then there's satellite radio, which will come in literally from the satellite. And then there's internet radio, where any listener from a smartphone to a computer can listen into the programming. And we chose internet radio because our goal and our mission is to reach the four corners of the world with coaching and consulting that many of these business owners wouldn't have access to. It's very high quality and it's free for them to listen to. And so you can go to a website and listen, or, we have our radio station listed on TuneIn Radio, on Sirius Radio. So when you get into your car, you can turn it on. It's the new FM, right? So it's slightly different than just a podcast because it does run continuously 24 hours a day. You don't get to choose who you listen to, but you can choose what time you listen to if you want to follow a particular show or a particular host. And it is that opportunity to really get an organic reach out into the world.
Because tuning
So
is
it's-
on smart speaker, it's on Alexa, isn't it?
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. You can say, Alexa, listen to IBGR network, and there we are.
So
is
it's
it-
linear
is it all-
programming,
Sorry.
and it is internet based, but I can hear it in my car.
Sure. Yeah. You can.
Wow.
You can. Yeah, you can hear it in your car. You can hear it on your smartphone. You can take it wherever you want to take it. And it's this idea that, it's different than video. If you're a business owner and you want to learn something to grow your business, you can go to video, but you got to stop and watch most of the time. It's so hard to put a video on and not want to keep your eyes on it. But with radio, you're just listening. So there's no such thing as multitasking, but yes, you can be listening in the background while you're doing your work and growing your business. And we've kind of set it up a little bit different, Rob. We have course-based programming. So in a 13-week period, which is a business quarter for most of us, I'm going to take a host and put them on the air for an hour, and they're going to create 4 episodes in that hour. And they'll have 52 episodes at the end of the season, and the listener can get little breadcrumbs along the way to take their business from point A to point B.
Alex, you had a question, and then I have lots of follow-up.
Yeah, well, I can't remember what my question was now, Rob.
Oh, sorry about that.
I'm just trying to get my head around it, really. So, just talk us through because I hadn't really thought about podcasts to me today are also visual.
Mm-hmm.
So,
They can be.
Is there such thing as a do we call it video podcast, or do we just still refer to it as podcast and it's both? What's you have a view on that?
Yeah, there can be. And so the majority of our hosts run through this 52 episode, especially when they're just getting on the air. I call it the training wheels version of podcasting. I'm going to put you into a formula, a methodology. It's going to be very structured. You're going to get comfortable behind the microphone, and you're going to have a 52 episode playlist at the end, which is pretty substantial, especially in 13 weeks. And then we have a thing called the TV talk show formula, where it is intentionally into the video, like you're doing here. It's conversational. It's bringing people on interview style. But I always tell my hosts, we talk about the leveraging. This is unlocking the full potential of your business message. I always tell my hosts, whatever format you're going into, if you're getting behind the microphone, push the video button too. Kind of, look a little presentable in the morning or whatever time you're doing it, and push the video button too, because then you can put it. YouTube has podcasts now. Spotify has podcasts now that are video. And you're doing the work once, you might as well leverage it. And then it could be a course, you could be that talking head in different places. So yeah, I don't know. Did I answer your question?
Yeah, well, not really, but
okay. So the question is podcasting video?
Well, I've started thinking about a podcast just being a video. Years ago, a podcast was just audio, but it feels like today it's video and audio, but we're still calling it a podcast. And is it the format that we're naming, or is it? I know, Rob, you have a view on this. We've talked about, thinking about podcasts as audio first. I think you believe that because we'll reach a bigger audience. We're not limiting the audience that we reach.
Right.
Yeah.
I believe if you think audio first and you have video, well, then wherever you display the video, the audio works. Whereas if you think audio first and you're displaying it, playing in an audio only format, it still works. So you're not shutting out. I want to say half the audience. I don't know how many would watch and how many would listen. But if you build for listen first, you're not alienating those that watch.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I have a background both as a therapist and as a teacher, and we learned that there's 3 general types of learners: the audio learner, the visual learner, and the kinesthetic learner that likes to be fully immersed. So if you're only putting out audio, the listening learner is percentage-wise one of the smaller ones. So you're missing out on reaching people. And of course, I'm always focused on education in my podcasting structure of some kind. But like you say, Rob, if you're going to do it one time, why would you not do it big, and then you can chunk it out into the smaller things? Like Greg last week on Cast Magic, what I love about Cast Magic, what I love about Greg and all that they do over there is you take one little piece of something, whether it's a video or an audio, and you now have all of this stuff that you can put out
full
there.
spectrum. Yep.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because one of the things that Twitter, or X as it is now, and LinkedIn have tried to do is basically support social audio. So you've got this thing here on LinkedIn where we're transmitting over LinkedIn and other social media channels as well. But they also run a social audio product as well, don't they?
Yeah.
LinkedIn do?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
A couple of comments from the audience. Andrew Susser says, podcasts with video still works as an audio show.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Sure.
And Rob Turrell shares, there are AI tools that now convert English spoken videos into different spoken languages and subtitles, even if speakers have no language knowledge. Provides automated dubbing. Some struggle with surnames. Well, Rob, I struggle with surnames as well. So I don't think that's an AI thing. I think they'll probably advance more than I will. Donna, I want to bring it back to the full potential of the business message. How can you captivate your audience and avoid common pitfalls in broadcasting?
Interesting you should say that. I just had a conversation with my 27-year-old daughter who loves to listen to podcasts. And what she said to me was, she was a captive audience because she flew into Richmond, where I'm from. When we drove up to Philadelphia, because she's attending Temple University, flew in from Chicago. And she said, Mom, I've tried to listen to some of your podcasts, but they're so short. Ours are 13 minutes long. And I just want to continually listen. And I said, okay, great. I don't really care. I mean, I care about you, but it's structured like a course. I want you to, as a business owner, listen for 13 minutes and go do something to build your business. And then come and listen for 13 minutes and go do something to build your business. And she says, oh, it's like a course. I'm enrolled in a course right now that's just like that. I said, yes, it's like a course. So to your point, Rob, initially, you're a business owner who wants to have the end game that the host is promising in 13 weeks. And so as long as the host upholds their promise to take you logically through this, you're going to keep showing up for the next step, little breadcrumbs.
It's so interesting that you put it that way, because I'm teaching a marketing course at Northeastern University. And one of the first things that we talk about is the value promise. What promise are you making to your prospects and customers? And here it sounds very similar. What promise are you making to your audience, and are you delivering on that?
Yeah, 100%.
How can you? Oh, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, I have an observation, and I'm saying this not to be controversial or awkward, because simply I don't know, because I don't, Tim's face when I said that, because I simply don't know. So I would have thought that there is a big bonus to having video content short. And the reason for that is that, where am I going to view video content? It's going to be on my phone, and I'm going to get interrupted by everything from TikTok to LinkedIn. It's going to be on my computer, so I might be watching it while I'm having lunch, or it might pop up on my stream during the day, and I think, oh, okay, I'll take a little bit of time to watch this. But where would I listen to a podcast? So because I like to watch stuff as well, if I'm listening to a purely audio podcast, I would imagine I would listen to that when I'm in the car. When I'm in the car, the last thing I want is a 15-minute segment, because I'm going to be in the car for 2 hours. And in this country, if you pick up your phone when you're in the car, you get 6 points and a £300 fine. So what I would be looking for would be extended content, like an audiobook almost.
Like a radio program. That's the beauty of the radio, because it will continuously play for you.
Yeah, and I guess that's the thing. So I see the rationale for having this constant stream of stuff. So why the 13-minute breadcrumbs? Why not just get, because if we get you on this show, we want you talking for an hour. Don't want you talking for 15 minutes.
Yeah, I've gotten that question before, and it's a great question, Adam. Why 13 minutes? Well, there's been studies in the podcast world of what is the ideal length, and 12 to 15 minutes has been some thoughts behind podcast frequency that listeners want. But at the end of the day, I'm a radio station and I need commercials. So in an hour's time, I run 2 minutes of commercials at the top of the hour, 2 minutes of commercials at the 15, 2 minutes of commercials at the 30, 2 minutes of commercials at the end. So, or at the 45. And if you do the math, that's 13 minutes in between. So it fits out very nicely for that. And small chunks to grow the business, right? If for those listeners who want continuous listening, more of a variety programming, just tune into ibgr.network radio.
Yeah.
And for those business owners who have caught on to something that they want more of, maybe you jump in at episode 25 and you're like, oh, well, I've missed the first 24 episodes. Well, then you go find their podcast and you could take it during your business time of growth. Every business owner, I think, should have some growth time in their schedule. And that's when those are listened to that way. Does that answer your question?
Perfectly.
My partner's 28-year-old, who has been living with us on and off for the last couple of months. He listens, so he does a lot of cycling, and he does a lot of cycling maintenance. And he basically will go out into the garden. He's got one of these things where he puts his bike on and that, and he just puts a podcast on.
Mm-hmm.
And it's what I would have done previously when I would have turned the radio on, because what you're looking for is something, as you say, that's something continuous that you're not having to tune in. But of course, he's got a smart speaker, and he just chucks it down on the table outside and starts fixing his bike, and it just goes on in the background.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so with the content, 52 episodes at the end of 13 weeks. Anybody knows that there's 52 weeks in a year, I think. That's a year's worth of content to repurpose. And when you run it through AI, like Cast Magic, you're able to repurpose it and leverage it into so many different ways. Ways that our hosts use it. Sarita Johan had her podcast playlist on her website. She's a coach, business coach. And she hired her like most ideal client. She called me all excited. She says, Donna, you'll never guess what just happened. The guy was cutting his grass, listening to her podcast. And because he heard her voice, he heard her message, and he heard her transformation, he said, I have to hire you. And he did. And a lot of our podcasters will put their best 13 minutes as a hyperlink in their email signature. Or they'll book a client will call them and say, I want to book a call with you. And they'll follow up and say, great, listen to this 13 minutes ahead of our call, and that'll be our starting point. So there's so many different ways to use that little 13 minutes versus if I say, listen to this hour long, or if I, and maybe scroll forward to this number, whatever. But it's just very, very nice and short and concise that if I tell people, if you can't take 13 minutes to grow your business, I'm not sure I can help you.
I interviewed on my podcast a guy called Michael Brenner, who's one of the most fascinating and knowledgeable marketeers out there. And I decided to let it go on because he was giving out so much information, and we ended up talking for 50 minutes, and nobody listens to him.
Mm-hmm.
Even though it's one of them, if you want to understand how modern marketing today and how to run your business, it's the best thing to listen to, but nobody listens to it because it's 50 minutes.
Yeah. And so back to the C word, COVID. Before COVID, they would say you have to have 7 touch points in a sales process. And now they're saying 15, 20 touch points in a sales process. And our attention span, there's studies that says our attention span went from here to down to here because there was so much information overload during those last, I don't know, 3-4 years, however long it's been. And so again, that 13-minute sweet spot of the rationale. Can you spend 13 minutes to grow your business? At the end of it, I'm going to give you an actionable, and you're going to go do it, and it's going to solve a problem. Can you commit 13 minutes to that? So, I see the heads nodding.
Yeah, and Donna, and again, it's about making sure that as an individual, what you're doing is that you're booking growing time within your schedule, depending on how you pronounce it, and making sure that you recognize that you need to be growing yourself, because ultimately we all want to be our best selves.
Yeah. And the programming that we have on the station, it's based on a balanced scorecard. So Monday is all about finance topics, Tuesday is all about operations, Wednesday's customer sales, marketing, Thursday's HR and people leadership, and then Friday is that executive thinking day, that big picture thinking day. Our weekend programming is a lot of mindset and personal growth for the complete entrepreneur experience. A lot of us don't want to grow our business on the weekend, but we can grow ourselves, but it's one of those things. Back to the conversation with my daughter, she was trying to inform me, and I told her I really valued the conversation because she wanted me to be a podcast company, the way that the 27-year-olds understand podcast. And I said, no, this is blue ocean, baby. I hear you and I love you, but this is a different concept because of all the ways that it's leveraged. When you follow influencers or my business, Podcasting Made Easy, you're 80% done with a book in 13 weeks. How do I know that? Because I had Ben Joya, who is a 4-time best-selling author, book coach. I co-hosted a season with him. And when we finished, he was like, hey, Donna, look, you have your audio transcription already done of your book. You have your 13 broad topic outline of your book. And we followed the model. We're our own case study. We did 13 weeks of a podcast. We did a 3-day event, and our book is coming out. I'm in the final edit of the book. We did that in 8 months, a global radio show, a 52-episode podcast, a 3-day event, and a book in 8 months. What could that do for your business and your positioning and your authority?
So it's not just a 13-minute broadcast. It's 13 minutes of, evergreen content, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Explain to those that might not be familiar why it's important to have evergreen content as part of your business message.
Yeah, that's great. If you've been in business for a little while, you should have found what we call your voice, your secret sauce, your special who you are, your methodology. And that's what we want to capture in these 13 weeks is basically your legacy. And so you can continue to say the same thing over and over again, which you should once you've found that. But when you run it through a structure like this, I've sat with business owners and roadmap the 13 weeks out with them, and they said, I have so much more clarity on who I am and what I do because I've put this into this roadmap. But yes, it's evergreen because then you leverage it. You can put it into, we use Headliner to get audiograms, the little short clips. Your talking head becomes a playlist on YouTube. You can get on all the audio places. You can have a newsletter. You can have a book. You can have a course. All of the different ways to take this one radio show and make it into all these other things. And the beauty of the radio show is, I'm going to say, Rob, at 2:00 every Thursday, you're going to have an hour show. You got to show up and do something. So you have accountability because you've already told your people that you have a radio show. You have accountability to actually create the stuff. That's a big hurdle for a lot of podcasters, is building that muscle of creation consistently. And then you're speaking it out into the world, and then you're repurposing it and leveraging it. That answer your question?
Yeah. So the initial 13 weeks is about creating the podcast. So you're helping the founder, the entrepreneur, whoever it might be, to really extract everything from their mind and get it out there in audio or video transcript. And you're using those exercises for each of the 13 weeks to create 4 podcasts a day, was it? So they've got
4 a week on your radio show time. You have that accountability to know, okay, it's showtime.
Yeah. So then they've got all of this content, and as you say, Cast Magic can do more magic with it.
Yeah.
And so that, when does it become a radio show? When does it become something that just continuously plays? Is it?
Okay, so the station is a radio station, and I might have Rob at 1:00 on Wednesday, and I've had Adam at 2:00 on Wednesday, and I have Tim at 3:00, and I have Alex at 4:00. So that's how it continuously plays. You'll hear different voices over the 24-hour period, 7 days a week. And I tell the host, it's your job to bring people to your show. You want them to follow you. They want them to hear you. But then you're also going to be heard. I had this conversation yesterday in our team huddle. Every week we have a marketing huddle. And they said, we get listeners because they were listening to the show before us. And then they bled over. So it's organic reach. And hello to William Eastman. There's Bill, my business partner.
Hey, Bill. Actually,
Hey, Bill.
Bill's had some great comments. Let's see. He was saying provides pre and post marketing opportunities, or used to help closing prospects in the sales funnel.
So are you helping? Sorry, we can come back to that just in 1 second. So are you helping your client then create their own radio show, or you're inviting the client onto your radio show to support the content creation wheel that you have?
They're coming on to my station with their show. Okay. And we used to say you get a radio show and a podcast, but now the language is you get a radio show that equals a podcast, because as you do your radio show, it's recorded. And that recording then becomes your podcast. And I tell our hosts, I tell them to put a little something on their playlist that says originally aired on the IBGR radio network, so that we use the podcast live formatting, not a lot of editing, and so if you think about transformation, you want that authenticity to connect. And so it's a podcast live format versus the highly edited versions.
Okay. So I've started playing around with Restream, with all of the different things that I've been doing with these fine gentlemen. So we do some other stuff, sales TV. I've started my own 15-minute podcast called Walking Digital Corridors. And then using Restream, I can create playlists. And so yesterday I played 6 hours worth of content through my LinkedIn profile. And I hadn't given it a name or anything, but what you're talking about sounds like it's very similar.
Yeah, 100%. And then back to my daughter, she was saying she listens on Spotify, and she says, well, I don't like to keep clicking to listen to the next one. I want it to be continuous. And what you said, just create a playlist, create your own playlist and add it in there, and it'll play whoever you want, however you want, as much or as little. But repurpose. If you're going to get behind any kind of microphone, turn the camera on, do the best job that you can, and then leverage the heck out of it. We say it's like the champagne glass pyramid. If you've ever seen them at a wedding, the pyramid.
Oh yeah.
There's
Like
like
breakfast,
92,
isn't it?
yeah, there's like 92 glasses in the pyramid, but they don't pour each glass. They pour to the top one, and then it comes down and fills all the glasses. We say your radio show is the champagne going into the glass. And then how many different ways can you repurpose that? So what you're doing, Alex, is the same thing. You're taking it and repurposing it and leveraging it.
Yeah.
So along those lines, how do the dynamics of internet radio shape the way businesses communicate and connect with their target audience?
Mm-hmm. It's a really great question, because in any kind of radio, it's not like this where people are commenting. The big question is, how do I know who's listening? Even in the podcast world, how do I know who's listening? And so it's structuring a very clear and compelling call to action to want to have a conversation with you. In the Influencers Formula, my book that's coming out, the marketing strategy, and Rob, you and I talked about this, it's be seen, be heard, be easy to follow, so that you're positioned as the solution. We all want to be the solution in our business, right? How do we do that? It's the three-legged chair. And be seen is, how do people stumble across you? Radio, LinkedIn, profiles, websites. How do they know that you exist? Be heard is, what message do you have? And how are you getting it out there? Is it a book? Is it a radio show? Is it a podcast? How are you being heard? And then be easy to follow. This is the leg of the chair that most people have just a little stump. How does somebody have that conversation? How do you invite them to connect with you so that you know they exist? So be seen, they're interested, they lean in a little bit, but you don't know they're there. Be heard, they're starting to consume your information, you still don't know that they're there. Be easy to follow is when they're actually seeing you as the solution, you're having those conversations, and you're able to have a two-way dialogue. They raise their hand and say, look, I'm here. Please help me with whatever it is I need help with.
So just to reiterate, be seen, be heard, be easy to follow.
Mm-hmm.
That's how you can unlock the full potential of your business message.
Yep, 100%.
So
Because now you're positioned as the solution. That's the only way to position you.
Tim, you had a...
I just said it was fantastic, Donna. William has also made some other comments.
Yes.
So he made a comment about Blair Witch.
There we go. We were talking about video. The Blair Witch Project changed the game on live video. And William goes on to say, one thought, and specific to your industry, your prospects can sample the product or service before purchasing.
Mm-hmm.
That's a great
They already
point.
know you. Mm-hmm. Yep, just like Sarita. Her client already knew her before he reached out to have the conversation with her. She didn't have to sell anything.
Yeah.
He's like, here, take my money. And who doesn't want to be there?
That reminds me of the statistic from CEB, where buyers are 57% down the buyer's journey before they engage with sales. And anecdotally, the sales industry, the sales enablement industry, are all saying, no, it's much more like 60, 70, 80, even 90%. We had a guest on another show recently that was saying it's probably 90%. And part of that research is consuming content like a podcast or a radio program or reading a blog. And you're talking about now the full potential of all of that. So internet radio is one more dynamic way to get that message out there.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And it's a unique way. What I hear from my hosts is that when they first put it in their LinkedIn profile, their bio, it says global radio show host, people wake up and they're like, what? Tell me more about that. When they go and do a speaking engagement and they're being introduced as global radio show host and podcaster XYZ person, people like sit up a little bit more. They want to hear it because you as the business owner, you're saying, I value what I have to say enough that I'm not going to hide under a shell. I'm going to actually go out into the world and speak my message.
It's a bit like saying that you write for Forbes or something like that, isn't it? It's
yeah, 100%.
I think now I know the answer to this question, just based on what you've said so far. But how can you maximize your reach and establish yourself as an influential voice?
It's that be seen, be heard, be easy to follow. It's that trifecta right there. And how do you do that? So when I take my host through that formula, I say, okay, do you have a website? And they say, yeah. And I say, does it position you as the solution that you're offering? No. We'll go update it. Okay. I have a podcast. I'm being heard. Okay. On your podcast, does your call to action, does your messaging position you as the solution you want to be? Well, not quite. And then being easy to follow again. Are you, I'm out there. Are you making it easy? Do you have a link to book a conversation with you? Do you have a contact email address? Do they know how to contact? Well, not so much. And so it's really getting into that mold. And in 13 weeks, you can have one solution in 13 weeks and then do another show season with us and have a different offer. Most of us are multidimensional in offers, but focus on one and make sure that all three of those legs position you as that one solution, which is really hard for some business owners to do, to focus on just that one thing. But it has to happen, or else it's confusion.
Absolutely. William shares surround prospects using all the available media channels. Do it once and repurpose everywhere.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
What about for the enterprise organization? Is this just as viable? Is this something they should be doing on their own? Or is it still something where working with a radio station is more viable, more vibrant opportunity for them?
So you're talking about corporate America, corporate.
Yeah. Why doesn't corporate America just spin up their own radio station?
That's what we've been asking. Yeah. Or associations. What if there was the CFO radio network? What if there was the patent attorney radio network? What if there was the doctor radio network? And you had all of the influencers in that particular niche on the station so that others could listen and be mentored in a way that really makes us all better.
And again, I want to go back to the difference between a podcast and a radio station. It reminds me of the conversation that I've had with my kids. I grew up with what is now termed linear television. Thursday night on NBC was must-watch TV. The Cosby Show was a tremendous hit. Anything that followed the Cosby Show,
you're not allowed to say that
been
anymore.
Canceled. But anything that followed Thou Who Should Not Be Named was also a tremendous hit. Even if they then moved time slots or nights or whatever, they got that initial following. My kids don't have that sense of linear programming. For them, it's all about on demand. And what I'm finding is discovery is harder for me in an everything on demand world. I sit down with Netflix and I will scroll through a dozen different options and then turn it off after 5 minutes because I don't know. Whereas I turn on the TV, I tune to one of the stations that I'm just comfortable with, and the programming is good enough, close enough, and I stay there for the night.
You say that, Rob, but the reason that you're going to watch Film X is because Alex has just watched Film X and told you that it's great.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that that's the point now. We've shifted from this kind of generic recommendation because, you know, this is mainstream programming. This is the hot hour during the evening. And then immediately afterwards, well, I haven't yet gone to bed, so I'll start to watch it and stick around to watch the rest of the show. Now, actually, because we've got this stuff on demand, what we're all looking for, and it's not just TV shows, this is every kind of media and every kind of entertainment. You know, it's like Tim does every quarter he does a book review. You know, these are the 10 books that I've read this last quarter, and this is what I would recommend that you read. And actually, I'm more likely to read a book because Tim's already done some sifting. You know, he's going to, here are 10 books, 5 of them are crap. I wouldn't bother with those. 5 of them are fantastic, and you must read these. Okay, well, that's 5 books that I can put in my shopping list rather than going to a well-known bookseller from A to Z and seeing 150 trillion books and go, I don't know. I don't know where to start. And I think that increasingly that's the point, isn't it? And I think the beauty of this is that we publish on the podcasting and radio show type channels, but actually you then get to know the person or the host, and then you engage with the content on the social channels, which means that you get social spread across those channels, which means that people in your network get to see that you're listening to my show because you're listening to it because you've engaged.
Recommended for you, yeah.
Yeah, and that's a big thing these days, isn't it? And it's a very significant shift because this is based on who I am and who I know rather than what I've watched.
Yeah, I had someone this week. Someone else had put a post up about a marketing book on LinkedIn, and they'd gone to Amazon and seen that I'd recommended it, and they come back and posted on LinkedIn, I see, and tagged me, Tim has recommended it, I'm going to go and buy it.
Was it our book?
No, it wasn't actually. No.
Okay, well, I'm not interested then.
Yeah, and that's like it's the network effect, and that's what we are teaching our hosts also, is that you want to have those conversations within your existing networks so that they fall in love with what you're doing on the station and want to share you with others, because it's the other people recommending you that's perfect. And then as you were saying, the beauty of what we do at the station is that with the radio show, as a business owner, I can put it in my schedule, that in my diary, that what
Oh yeah, thank you.
that every Thursday at 1 p.m. is my show that I want to watch or listen to, that on the station. So I can set an alarm to remind me to show up for my growth because I want to catch it live. I'm one of those that, you know, FOMO people. I have to have be the first. And so our host can say, I'm going live Thursday at whatever time, come and listen to my show on IBGR Network. And then they can come back and say, hey, if you missed it, the podcasts are ready and you can listen on demand. So then you can go back and catch whatever you missed. So it's really hitting 2 different types of audiences with that too. Those that want to set a schedule, and those who want to say, this is my world, I want to live in it, and I'll listen when I want to.
William shares in response to the question earlier, why aren't more enterprises just doing this on their own? He says, it's about core competencies. If this is an internal competence, do it yourself. If not, outsource, partner with an organization that does it 24/7. I might even say, building off of that show that must not be named, leveraging the affiliation and partnering with others is probably more beneficial than going out there and doing it on your own, even if you have that core competency. Yeah. It's great that, you know, you could have this podcast, but if the show before you and the show after you are things of interest to the people you're trying to reach,
right,
there's a likelihood that they will jump in on yours just through happenstance.
Just out of curiosity to hear what the next one is about. There's that layover to it. And with our station, we get listening metrics, and we're 30 minutes to 45 minutes average listening time.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so that tells me that they're listening to at least 2, maybe 3 of the segments of the shows. So that says to me that, well, people are resonating with this kind of format, because in terrestrial radio station, it's like 7 to 10 minutes or so. Like, there's very, very fickle audience to get it out to. So that was a good validation. I want to just do a quick little imagination experiment. Imagine, Adam, Tim, Alex, and Rob, imagine that you can go out to your social networks and say, hey, I'm a global radio show host. What do you think? How do you think that your audience would respond to that?
Stop showing off.
Do you think they'd say that?
I don't know.
They would only say that tongue in cheek. We already, because we do multiple of these video podcasts, we already, all of us, have that on our profiles, and we talk about the fact that we do that. And we have, there's a kernel of very loyal listeners who listen to pretty much everything we do, because they're really engaged by us and the themes and the things we talk about and think are important. They think are important as well. So, I mean, it's another thread to that, another string to that bow, isn't it? And I think that that they wouldn't be surprised if we said, we're global radio shows. In fact, I think if we said we're global radio hosts, I think they'd probably say, well, I thought you already were. Because for a lot of people, when they tune into one of the social networks, we are there looking back at them already. So the fact it's something else, they would just assume that we were in all of these places.
Yeah. But there is some, when you say the words global radio show host, I then think of something like a Stephen Bartlett in front of his microphone interviewing someone else, having a chat. But yeah.
What if I invited you to syndicate your show? You can say now syndicated on the Influence Radio Network, which is our brand new station.
I think that would be amazing.
Brilliant.
Because I'd love to invite you to syndicate your show on our network and become global radio show host, so we can get your voice out to our network and promote you into the countries that we're in.
Yeah,
that would be fantastic.
But for the perhaps more naive of the bunch, what does that actually mean when you say, if I syndicate your show?
Yeah, thank you for asking that, because it is a big question that we get all the time. The thing that a lot of podcasters don't realize is that radio stations can get listed on radio directories. Right. We can be heard on TuneIn Radio, not TuneIn Podcast. Right? We can be heard on Sirius Radio, not iHeart Podcast, not iHeart Radio. Like, we're on the radio networks, which is that findability, that new level of what's going on. And so syndication is just a replay of a recording,
right,
on a radio station. So it's not, and so that's the differentiation between it. And many of the terrestrial radio shows are syndicated. So you can think of like Dave Ramsey. Dave Ramsey isn't live sitting behind his microphone when you hear him on the radio. It's a syndication of something that he has sent to them. And so for the digital download, it's a syndication. It's a replay of your content, of your material, out to a brand new audience who is tuning into radio. They like this idea of radio.
I think that's the amazing part of it. And as we've been speaking this hour, it's dawned on me, it's really about that discovery. It's great that we have these episodes. We have the recordings on a YouTube channel, but if nobody is going out to actively seek that, it doesn't exist. Whereas with an internet radio station, you have an audience that is seeking information around a given topic or theme. In this case, business information. And they don't know what they're listening for, so they couldn't actually go and search for the digital download proactively. But now they will stumble upon it. And some of them might even like it. And then they will continue to seek out other ways of discovering what we're sharing through this. So for me, that's the word there that sums it up, is discovery.
Yeah. And a reason to talk to your audience about something new. Hey, super excited. We just got syndicated. What do you mean you just got syndicated? Oh, we're going to be on a global radio station. Oh, you know, for a lot of the hosts that we work with, there's 10 different marketers standing in a row, and all of them are doing something on social media, and they're sending out newsletters. And then there's one of them that says, "Hey, I'm on a radio. I have a radio show. I have my own radio show." What do you think happens to the other 9 little marketers? Well, they don't get as much attention. So it really is. It's that differentiator.
I love the fact, Donna, because I know that Alice Cooper has a syndicated radio show because I listen to it sometimes on Planet Rock. So you know, we'll be like Alice Cooper.
Absolutely.
We'll come with black eyeshadow.
Yeah, you sing the School's Out song. Go ahead.
Yeah. We'll play it with our piccolo.
Oh, there you go. Rocking.
So one more time, Donna. Be seen, be heard, be
Easy to find.
Yeah.
easy to follow.
So I like Rob.
So that you are positioned as the solution. So that the bright shining beacon says, I'm the solution because of these 3 things.
Be seen, be heard, be easy to follow. Fantastic.
And I like Rob Turl's comment there.
Yes,
about the easy
I
to
wanted
find.
to bring that up. So
Yeah.
Rob Turl says, would ad be easy to find, to be seen, be heard, be easy to follow? Being able to search via keywords, concepts, stage before being followed.
Yeah. Yeah. All of that. And all of that in alignment with the solution. See, that's the key right there is as a business owner, I might have 5 to 10 different solutions, but in any one business quarter, what if you were really shining the light on one solution and you had it lined up with those 3 things? So keywords, yes, pointing to that one solution, your website, your bio, your about section, your profile, all of that lining up to that one solution. And then you're speaking it in social media, that one solution. And then how can they reach you? How can they have that conversation with you? Yeah.
Rob, close now.
So
Yes.
very soon then we can put on our profiles global show radio host.
Yes. Do you like that?
Donna, that's fantastic news. Thank you so much for that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It's my
Donna, how
pleasure.
can more people find out about you, about the radio network, and about internet radio in general?
So the website is ibgr.network. ibgr.network. That's a great place to go to learn more and to listen and to get an idea of who and what we are. Personally, I'm Donna at ibgr.network. Easy to find there. Happy to have a conversation via email. I think those are the 2 great places. And of course, I'm on LinkedIn, always willing to connect and collaborate.
Excellent. This has been another episode of the Digital Download,
Which is
now an internationally syndicated, longest running weekly business talk show on LinkedIn Live. We hope to be seen, be heard, and be easy to follow. If you want to be seen, be heard, be easy to follow, and be a part of a global syndication, if you have something to say, we'd love to hear from you. Join us. Visit our website, digitaldownload.live, scan the QR code or find the Be Our Guest section, and reach out. For Adam, for Alex, for Tim, and for myself, I wanted to say thank you very much, Donna. Thank you very much to the audience. William, thank you for being a part of the audience. Andrew, Robert, and I know we had a number of other comments. Thank you all. This has been the Digital Download. We'll see you again next week.